Hi, my name is Jen, and today I just wanted to share a book review on this book, And Baby Makes Three. This is a great book for parents who are expecting the birth of their first child. So my husband and I read this book shortly after my first son was born. As you can see, I'm pregnant. I'm expecting a second son in just a couple of weeks. So I wanted to go ahead and film a review on this book. The book is really focused on how having a baby and having your first baby affects the marital or partner relationship, the romantic relationship. So there's a lot of challenges that can come up, and this book kind of seeks to address some of those issues. For instance, in the book, they identify how studies show marital satisfaction decreases significantly for over 2/3 of the couples after the birth of the first baby, and that's in the US. Other mental health conditions can also increase, and these difficulties and challenges can lead to an affair or separation and then ultimately divorce. The book also identifies how babies suffer emotionally and intellectually when the romantic or kind of parental relationship is in jeopardy or is suffering. So I would say that the thesis of the book, or kind of the main point of the book, is in the subtitle. It says, "The 6-step plan for preserving marital intimacy and rekindling romance after baby arrives." So there's 6 steps that he goes into great detail in this book, and I'll cover them briefly in just a moment. And the whole point is to preserve marital intimacy and rekindle romance, specifically after the birth of a first child. And that is based on the principle that the best thing that a parent can do for their child is love their partner or spouse. So as I mentioned, there are 6 steps. He spends at least a chapter on each one. In one of the steps, there's a number of chapters devoted to it. So he goes into quite a bit of detail. The first step is to realize we're all in the same kind of boat. The second is to delight in responding to your baby. The third is to cool down your conflicts, and that's where he spends most of the book. The fourth step is to savor each other through friendship and also sex. The 5th step is to add warm fathering to the mix. And then the 6th step is to create an enriching legacy. Those are a lot of the main highlights in the book as far as the content is concerned. There's also a number of pros that I came up with. I really enjoyed this book. The authors are John and Julie Gottman. They're a married couple. They do a ton of research. They've written a number of books. They have these love labs where they study couples, and they really try to identify issues and problems and solutions for couples and marriages and relationships. So I really appreciate that. It's also very well written. As you can see, it's pretty small. The chapters are very well laid out. They're pretty short. The book is just laid out very well in general. There's a summary section at the end of each chapter. There's lots of lists and do's and don'ts. The concepts are very well explained. It's very well laid out. It's very easy to read. I've read lots of books by psychologists and researchers that are very technical, and they're kind of hard to read and understand. This is very, very easy to read and understand. The examples that he provides in the case studies are very clear and relatable. There's practical exercises. I also appreciate that he spends so much time on conflict resolution and giving you lots of different ideas and a really detailed process for working through a conflict and communicating a lot better. That is something that is really difficult, and especially when you have a little child who has needs all the time. You really want to make sure that you're communicating effectively and quickly sometimes, and that you're also resolving conflict effectively and quickly. You don't want to be building those types of things up. So I really appreciate that. There's a lot of self-tests in here as well, and I really appreciate that because it really helps to promote and facilitate self-awareness, and I think that really helps us as we move forward in our relationships and our new role as parents. I also love that It's very practical and realistic. He highlights a lot of the benefits of having a child, of which there are many, but he also identifies and is realistic about some of the challenges that couples can face when they have a new child. Not getting a whole lot of sleep, having to totally take care of a whole human being, a new human being, can be very hard and challenging on parents. And so I really like that he is very kind of honest and direct about the benefits, but also the challenges. So that way it's not super gloomy or anything, but it's also addressing issues and problems and coming up with solutions. So I really appreciate that. I also like how there's a long list of suggestions and ideas in the father involvement section. I just think that's really helpful. He actually has about 6 pages worth of ideas and suggestions for how a father can be a little bit more involved in the process, and I think that's super helpful. And there's also an index at the end of the book, so that way you can look up different concepts or other references or whatever else. So it's very easy to use this book and work through it. Finally, I also really appreciate this book because it is very well researched. He has his own research that he references quite a bit. He is a very prominent researcher in kind of the mental health community and specifically with couples. As I mentioned before, he has his love labs and he does short-term and also long-term studies on couples, observing all different types of things. And so I really appreciate that there's that research basis. He also references other studies as well. I could really only come up with one con. I definitely do really enjoy this book. I am recommending it very, very highly. But the one con that I do have for this book is that there is not a note section at the end of the book. It just has the index. And I really would have appreciated it if there was a note section that had the sources that he used cited, so that way you could go and look for them. He does provide some information about this study, so that way you can find them if you would like to look into the studies more. But it would have been nice if he had just included those in the back, so that way it was a lot easier to find. But overall, I definitely highly, highly recommend this book. It's just very well written, very easy to use, to understand, and it addresses issues that I think a lot of couples face in the first year. And I think that if you're able to read this and address those issues sooner, you'll be much better off as a couple and also as a family. So I really appreciate that. I would also say that this is definitely more of a relationship book. It is focused more on the couple, the romantic partners in the relationship. It's not so much strictly parenting. It does have some parenting tips and information, so that's just something to keep in mind as you read it. As this book is focused on how having a child affects the romantic relationship, I think this book is best suited for couples in that situation, or who will soon be in that situation, or were recently in that situation. He does have a lot of other books that are very helpful for couples or individuals in general. So I'll be doing some book reviews on those in the next few weeks, so keep your eyes out for that. All right, well, I hope that was helpful, and if you have any other books that you would like me to review, please leave them in the comments below. If you're new to my channel, please let me know in the comments below. Introduce yourself and let me know how you found my channel, or if you'd be interested in seeing any specific content. I definitely love to be making what you want to see. I hope you all have a great day and you stay warm. Bye.